Welcome back to the workshop. This is part 2 of the turned and textured sculpture, and I have to apologise for the length of the last video. Part 1 was a massive video, and if you made it all the way through that, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for doing so. This video won't be so long. Now, this year, as I've previously said, it is a busy year for me. I've got lots of shows coming up, so I have actually cracked on a bit because I'm going to run out of time otherwise. So the sculpture you see me in part 1 creating is actually now finished, and I'm going to show you some photographs of it in a minute. I have, however, started a second one, very, very similar, but this time it's got enamel white paint on. So I've yet to paint one of the sides on that piece, so I'm going to do that for you in a minute, just so that you can see the difference between putting the ebonizing solution on and actually putting the enamel paint on in that texturing. Is quite difficult, and although you need the brush to be quite loaded, you don't want too much on, because all those little dimples, if they get full, obviously the surface will be flat and you'll lose the definition of the texturing. So I'll show you that in a moment, but first up I'm going to show you pictures of that finished sculpture that we started in part 1. Well, I think you'll agree that that black one turned out all right. I quite liked it. So anyway, let's move on to this white one now. You can see that I've already put the metal bar in ready to go into the base. That's glued in. The edge around the outside, that's been painted white with this enamel paint, and so has this side. Inevitably, I have got some splash over around the edge with the paint. It's because of the brush. I haven't got a white Sharpie pen, and it probably wouldn't look right in comparison to the enamel paint anyway. But it's okay, because this side was oiled before I started painting. This paint will just sand off. So what I'll do, when all the painting's done and dry, I'll get some really fine paper and just sand the surface that's oiled, which will remove this splash over here, and then re-oil it by hand, and then it'll look lovely. But the other side, as I said, is yet to be painted, and there it is. So this is what I'm going to crack on with now. Right from this edge here to the inside will all be painted. The enamel paint that I'm using is this. It's nothing expensive. We've got in Shaftesbury, we've got a like a bargain shop, and it's just a little paint from the cheap bargain shop. It's not an expensive brand, I don't think, but it works really well, I think. So this texturing, look, I'm just going to dab it in and try at the same time as creating the coverage that I want, try and get out of those dimples as much as the paint as you can, so that they don't plug up, because I want to keep that texture, obviously. So this does take time. You've got to have a bit of patience with it. Maybe take a break every now and then, just so you don't get bored and fed up. This is part of woodworking I don't like, really. It's They'd like to be more active, but there you go. It's part of the process. So it's really important you get into all these little dimples as much as you can on this first coat. Get it really covered, but as I say, don't let them plug up. So you just see me putting the first coat of that white enamel paint on the back side of this textured sculpture. I've got to wait now a couple of hours for that to dry before I can put the second coat on, and it'll probably be 3 coats in total to get the coverage I want. Each time making sure that you don't feel those little dimples, because otherwise, as I said before, you'll end up with a flat surface and it's just waste time carving it then, isn't it? Anyway, little trick for you: in between coats, get your little brush and stick it in a little jiffy bag. It just and seal it up as best you can. It just stops that brush from drying out for the couple of hours that you're waiting for the paint to dry, and that way you're not forever wasting these brushes, because although they're quite cheap, you don't want to be using loads and loads of them if you can help it. So while that's drying, I'm going to move on to some other work, and well, actually, let's show you something. I'll show you a couple of the other things I've been making of late. Because of this texturing malarkey, I've done a bit of texturing on one of my hollow twists. So some of you may have seen that I carve hollow twists, and I've made one, look. So all that is turned and carved from the solid, and I've added the enamel paint. I've done a load of texturing. So on the inside, hopefully you can see that, you've got dimples, and on the outside it's more like a feathered texture. And it goes all the way up. So that'll end up with a base as a standalone sculpture. And that's one of the projects I've been doing this week as well. There's another one here. I'll just put that back on that clamp. The reason it's not on a base yet is because the base is, I'm in the process of ebonizing the base. That's not quite ready, and once it is, there's a spigot on the bottom, and I should just insert that into a hole in the base and glue it up, and that'll be done. Here's a completed one. Let me stand up and stand back for you so you can see it. On a little square ebonized base. What I'll do, I think, is I'll pop a picture in a minute. I'll pop a picture on for you so you can see it. So there you go, you can see that there. I enjoy doing those, and it shows I'm known for doing those hollow twists. Actually, just about there, is a double one in the process of being carved. So I get a solid block, turn the outside, and then with some geometry work out where I want the twist or twists to be, and then using the lathe as a vice, I carve it out. So if you want to see a video for that, then that will be a long one, and who knows, maybe at some point I'll do one of those. If you're really keen, leave a comment below. Right, so I don't really see the point in making you sit and watch me put 2 more coats of that paint on this. You've seen me turn the black one, you've seen me ebonizing it. You've seen it's now sat on a base. That will be exactly the same but white. It is a slightly larger diameter, but it was held on the lathe the same way with a compression between the four-jaw chuck with face plates on it and the tailstock, turned exactly the same. So I'm probably going to leave this video right there, although it's worth noting that I've got a really exciting trip coming up soon, and so we're going to have in a couple of weeks something a bit different for the channel. I am going wild camping on the NC 500 route. For those of you who don't know, the NC 500 is a kind of 500-mile long road trip around the very top of Scotland, and I am taking my 3 youngest kids on an adventure. So that's in a couple of weeks' time. So I no doubt will post lots of silly photographs of even sillier camping spots, maybe even in some castles if I can get away with it. But we're going on an adventure, so that's happening in a couple of weeks. There's lots of things coming up, as I said before, show-wise. The first carving show, is chainsaw carving show, will be something like the 8th and 9th of April, which is the weekend I come back from Scotland. Excuse me. If you'd like some more details about coming to see me, I go all over the southwest of the country, or southeast of the country rather. So if you want more details of any of the chainsaw carving shows that I'm going to this year, pop a comment in the bottom, in the comment section, and I will give you address and name of the event and whatever. After that, wow, I've got a big one. It is a big one. It's I've got an event at RHS Wisley, which is a Royal Horticultural Society Gardens at Wisley. Google it. It's an amazing venue. It will be the biggest one I do this year, with approximately 35,000 people attending normally. So that'll be a big one. And again, if you want details of that or any of the other shows I mention on the channel, just pop a comment down below and I will give you all the details I can. Location, even if you want map grid references, I can probably organise that too. But before all of that, I'm going on holiday with the missus next weekend. So that's magic. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves out there. Speak to you soon.